Yo, what up, guys? It's Z. Welcome back. The truth is, sometimes I forget to eat. It just comes down to the fact that I'm just lazy. I also don't always reach out or answer my phone calls like a good friend should. I'm not the best at maintaining relationships and upkeeping. I end up retreating and ignoring them and only respond to them maybe weeks or months later. I don't always keep promises to myself. I don't know. I just think sometimes I'm not good at being a normal, functioning human being. And I think that's okay. But I'll touch on that later in this video. I mean, ever since I can remember, I was a little bit weird. And I mean, I've always been weird, but I mean, like, on top of that. And in the same light, I don't think anyone really is that normal. And what is the definition of normal? And if you were normal, I think that'd be really boring. Like that one episode, like when SpongeBob becomes really round. You know what I mean? Like, hi, I'm normal. That was a really weird episode. I think there's a certain societal expectation of reality that has been formed through, our consumption of TV, shows, movies, and all the music we listen to. It slowly kind of changes and changes our perception and how we view the world. Like, for example, how a normal family should look. I mean, back in the day, you had Nuketown families, right? Like the perfect two kids, a husband, a wife, and a golden retriever, right? White picket fence. That was like the staple. That was like the image that they were trying to portray. But what I notice in reality is more often than not, most families are really dysfunctional. Like most of them that I, visit, like I visit some of my friends, they're a little bit off. There's always some weird dynamics going on. Nothing is always perfect. And I think that's what makes them unique and special. Each family is different, people are different. And I think if everyone was the same, why would your family be any special or any different? For example, I have a short mobster like grandpa who smokes cigarettes all day. He's written dictionaries and has done art. And I have a grandma with red hair, and she's low-key a gangster too. She's cool. And I don't know, I just think it's interesting, right? Having a traditional family is overrated. I think most families are a little bit wild and dysfunctional. I think that's just how it is. When you go visit friends, are they always perfect? I think they're all a little bit weird or interesting and unique. Well, back to sucking at life. Groceries. I think I suck at just even the little things, the everyday things. Sometimes I mess up on stuff that everyone has to deal with, and that can be really discouraging. For example, sometimes I buy a bunch of groceries, right? And I end up getting lazy or letting them go bad and not cooking them. Oh man, that makes me feel terrible. It feels like I just wasted all this food. Or I end up getting Uber Eats or going out with friends instead of staying home and cooking the ingredients. And that would just make you feel terrible because you just paid like 3 times the amount to get your food delivered or to go out and eat. And all your food is going bad in the refrigerator. It just makes you feel bad that you wasted all this food. I think the biggest thing I struggle with, and I think I already touched upon this earlier in the video, is just responding to people. To this day, I honestly don't know how I have friends or have maintained any friendships. It's just that life makes me feel really overwhelmed and I just end up forgetting or putting off phone calls or texts and messages. I'm just the type of person who really needs to absorb the moment, or when I'm feeling overwhelmed, I need to be in a place where I'm ready to respond correctly. Because like if I'm in a bad mood, I'm gonna maybe respond negatively, or if I feel happy or sad, I'm just not the type of person to put their emotions onto other people. And I try my best to be at a baseline before responding. That's just how I am. And that's a vicious cycle because the more you put it off, the longer. And then I'm an overthinker as well. So I end up not responding longer because I feel like it's too late. And I feel like you guys have all probably done that before. And I think nowadays, a phone is a big part of your life. So a lot of people have conflicting ideas about that. Should you be staying connected? How long does it take you to respond? Or what's the window of time for a timely response? People have all these different arguments and perceptions on what's right and what's wrong. But basically the way I came to terms with this is I just rationalized in my head that we weren't born with phones. I didn't come out the womb with a phone. It's not a natural thing, like an innate thing that I've always had. I think maybe in the future, definitely, but not me in this generation. The iPhone came out, I don't know, when I was 10 or something. I don't remember, but it came out a little bit later. I grew up with like a Nokia flip phone. Now definitely it's definitely a culture thing, but I don't think, personally, I don't believe you have to be on call and you don't have to respond too quick. It's not natural. We weren't born with phones. So I think taking your time with responses is natural. But that's not the reality. In this world and in this culture, everyone is using their phone. Everyone is connected. It's their main source of connecting with people, messaging and networking. And being able to contact each other. So people expect quick responses. So that does mean sometimes you will have to message people even though you don't want to or feel like it, even if it's inconvenient, just because it would be the polite thing to do and you don't want to come off as rude. It's like a social expectation. I mean, I feel like a majority of the time I get these random messages where I have to stop what I'm doing and kind of respond in a thoughtful way, which I try to. Like, I think we just talked about that, how I like to be in the right mindset to respond the right way. And I think that is selfish of me, but also it is like, it's just what I prefer and that's how I handle things. I mean, like I said before, I think it's unfair to respond when you're not in the mental space, because if I'm not in the right mental space, I'll just respond to you because I have to. And when I do that, I honestly couldn't care less. Honestly, I just type whatever seems right and it will get you off my case. But when I'm actually engaged, you will know the difference. And you know how that goes. I didn't feel genuine in a couple days, and then a week passes, and then I feel terrible, right? And I feel like I'm not a good friend, and I'm overthinking. And I'm like, why am I like this? But then again, you just have to kind of just make a rule with yourself. For me, I made a personal rule. I wasn't born with a phone. I think I told my friends personally, I'm not a person who responds right away, so don't take anything personal, and they don't. Most of the time, they don't if you're like transparent with them and if they're not weird. Because, you know, you don't want to deal with a bunch of weirdos who get offended because you don't respond to them right away. Come on, get your priorities straight. You know, I mean, everyone's living their own life. You should have patience and understand not everyone's on your own time. So, and that would just build up and kind of just domino effect into just me feeling like I'm not good at being a human being. All of these little things that add up, not going to the gym, you know, not following my routine. And I'm gonna be honest, sometimes those days depression would get the best of me. I'm the type of person who really locks themselves in their room, isolate, turns off all the lights, and I don't do anything. I don't talk, I don't eat. I mean, I'll watch videos and stuff, but I'll really suffer like alone in silence. I don't know, it's kind of just my thing. I like being underneath the blanket and everything. I just like being a hermit and not doing anything for a couple days. It's kind of just how I cope with things. I don't know, it's kind of weird. Maybe some of you guys can relate, but it's just kind of my thing. And I've always done that ever since I was little. I've always done that. I mean, another thing that can compound into it is just my eating habits. Sometimes I tell myself I'm going to eat healthier. Like, okay, I'm not going to eat fast food. But like after like a really long work shift or something, you know, like a 8-hour shift and it's really late at night, sometimes just like a Big Mac or a double bacon ultimate cheeseburger from Jack in the Box with onion rings and Coke just hits with those cinnamon churros. Hey, it just hits sometimes. Yeah, but then I just feel guilty about it. I'm just like, why? I didn't have to, right? It's just like in my head, I just convinced myself because I thought I earned it or something. And I don't know, it's just me breaking my own self rules again that just kind of bothers me. I'm just like, man, I can't even, you know, keep certain promises to myself. So that kind of bums me out too. You know, after the post-meal clarity pops up and your stomach is growling and there's grease at the bottom of your stomach and you feel all nauseated a little bit and heavy, then you just regret. I'm like, why did I just do all that? In a similar vein, I'm sure you guys have all experienced this. You're going to the gym consistently. You have a whole meal plan. You're like, all right, I'm doing Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I'm doing legs here, doing back, doing chest here. You know, you have chicken and rice. You have whey protein shakes. You got peanut butter. You got flaxseed oil. You got all this stuff. But one day you get lazy, right? You get tired, or you want to sleep in, or you want to skip a day, or you're going out with a friend. And then one day turns into 2 days. And then 2 days turns into 4 days. And then it's been a week, right? Everyone's done this. And that's the trap. I think working out is very impressive and is worthy of respect just from the consistency. Like, I really do respect people who are consistent. Having a nice body is hard. You have to be consistent. You have to show up on days you don't want to. But anyways, that would happen a lot. You know, just taking one day off and then it snowballs and then you just feel terrible. I'm sure you guys have all felt that. Oh man, I was doing so good for a whole like 2 months and then I just stopped. I took a break and then it just snowballed into me being lazy. And again, with the thing about keeping promises in myself, it just made me more hard on myself. Man, I really got to prove to myself that I can do this. And I think this relates to a quote that I read recently. I think it said, if you break your own promises, you teach yourself that your words mean nothing. Whenever you promise yourself in the future, your body will know, your mind will know, that doesn't mean anything. I mean, all my life I've had goals I want to achieve. I think everyone has. But I notice I wait for motivation before I take action. I think throughout my life, I've had a lot of goals and things I wanted to get done in my life that I put off or delayed. Things that I've always wanted to achieve, but I've waited for motivation or the perfect, moment or all the stars to align perfectly before I take action. When I should be pushing myself even when it's hard and putting in the work even when I don't want to. I've caught myself so many times in the past saying, oh, I'll fix this when I have more motivation, or I'll do it later when I have more energy. And that time never comes sometimes. As a human being and an adult, it means doing things that are hard. It's taking the hard route even if you don't want to. Like my problem with picking up the phone and not reaching out, it has caused me not problems in my relationships, but it probably has weakened a lot of my relationships and has taken away a lot of opportunities that could have arisen if I was just more social and reached out more. If you guys have been listening up till now, thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. I know probably right now you guys are thinking, this sounds a lot like depression. Personally, I have struggled with depression my whole life, and I try not to romanticize it or, am a victim to it. I think it's just the result of human existence, right? And thinking a little bit too much about certain things. And I come to the conclusion, probably for another video, but you can't think about everything too much. Sometimes you just gotta accept things for the way it is and just enjoy the present and the moment, because that's all you really can do. I just remember how bad it felt that I couldn't even respond to my closest friends without struggling. I'm just like, what is wrong with me? I remember just laying on my bed, staring at the ceiling like, what's wrong with me? Like, why is this simple thing so hard for me? And then I always end up overthinking and I end up procrastinating and not responding. So it just makes me feel even worse. I've just come to the conclusion that there's no normal way to live. You can choose anything to do with your life and live on your own terms. I've come to truly love who I am and all the weird quirks and weird things that make me who I am. And especially realizing that there's no right way to live. There's no special mold or rule set on how a human being should live. Even if it looks different from the people around you, you're not doing it wrong. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.